Hold my finished skirt board away from the cut carriage, the distance of the sheetrock plus a little bit. I'm going to put 2 or 3 of these blocks along this carriage. Now I'll take my finished skirt board and put it in place temporarily. I'm going to hold it with a clamp until I get it set in the right position. Now a quick check with the level to make sure that my skirt board isn't high. We want the weight to rest here, not here. I'll check the back of the riser and see if it hits the miter in the right spot. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I'll check it with a real riser though before I nail this off. I'll check in just a couple more spots here, make sure everything's okay. Now, everything looks pretty good. I've already cut this into the riser square. I'm going to put it into the mortise there and bring this front face of the skirt board out to the front of my riser. Now I'll go to the table saw and cut that 45. Got the first riser mitered. Fits tight here. Looks like it fits real well out here too. This is the time when you might want to adjust this skirt board this way for a good fit. You can see that the heel of the miter is open a little bit. That's so out here at the toe we'll have a nice tight fit too. I'm using a nail here for a drill bit, which works really well because it's just the right size. Okay. Before I go any further, I'm going to cut a tread to make sure all these parts will go together. I'm going to butt it into this face of the skirt, not into the mortise. Mark my length. Now I'll add a 1/2 inch for the mortise. That's where I'll make my cut. One more thing I have to do before I can test this fit. I have to nick this corner off here so I can get past this edge. It takes a little bit of fiddling to get it in there. Yeah, that fits great there. Okay, I'll fit this riser to this tread. There's my little nicked off corner again. I'll drop this thing into place as a unit. Yeah, when it's wedged, it'll be just right. Let's push the front into place. It doesn't seem to want to go. It must be hitting something in the back. It's loose here. It's hitting this carriage back here. Maybe something's out of square. Yep. We'll have to cut a little bit off with a chisel here to square this carriage up. Little adjustments like this are common. We'll probably have to do a little shimming and cutting on each step to make it work. Well, let's try this unit and see if it fits any better now. Yeah, that goes back there nicely and fits well against that carriage. Now we'll glue the first riser in place. Once again, I'm using construction adhesive on all my wood-to-wood joints. And be sure to use some on the miter. The nails I'm using here are 6-pennies in pre-drilled holes. I need to wedge this bottom riser into place, and I'm using yellow glue here. Now this is a tough one to wedge because you can't hammer from below. And the last thing I need to do here is a couple finish nails from the front to lock the joint. Once the bottom riser is in place, I can start assembling my treads and risers as a unit. And as a matter of fact, I have to do it this way because there are so many interlocking joints. Now it'll take a bit of wiggling to get this unit in place, but don't take too long or the yellow glue will start to set up. Now it's not critical that your miters meet perfectly, but you want to be close enough so that sandpaper can finish it off. Now these wedges are a little easier to put in because I can get at them with a hammer. And you're right, you don't need to use that much glue. The next thing to do is to fasten down the tread. Now this can be done with large finish nails, but I like to use screws. Later I'll plug them and they won't show. I'm going to put these glue blocks in place underneath. They'll meet the riser and the tread. You can't follow me under there, but I'll show you when we get a little higher. And the final step is to run some screws through the back of the riser into the tread. Now 1 down, 11 to go. While I'm resting my knees, I want to show you this piece of the model I brought over here to explain how this tread will be different than the first one. This one was cut off flush with the edge of the skirt. I'll put a nosing on here later. This part will be covered by the newel. This is the nosing, and it fits on the tread like that. This is actually a better example of the second tread. I'll get my cut line across here and lay out a 45. I'll saw the cut with a table saw and hand saw the 45. Then I'll put the nosing on later. The width of the nosing, the overhang, is the same as the overhang was on the front. Put the tread tight against the house skirt board. Make a mark flush with the edge of this skirt board. Now I need to add a 1/2 inch for the housing and 1 1/8 for the return nosing. I'll square these marks across. This is a cut mark. This is where the edge of the return nosing will be. I'm taking that out to the corner so I know where to saw my miter. Now I'll lay out the 45 from that mark. Saw this with a table saw and this with a hand saw. This is some of that planing and fitting I was talking about. I tried this nosing, I tried its fit into the mortise, and it was a little tight, so I've taken a few shavings off so it'll fit better. As you can see, I've made a unit out of this one. Assembled the riser to the tread and put the screws and glue in already. Now let's try our fit. Yeah, that's real good. It fits over here too. Now I'll take it out and glue it in place. Oh, that fits really great. Nice and tight. It's really starting to look pretty good. Takes care of number 2. Now I'll install the 3rd step, and then I'll show you how to install the return nosing. Okay, the 3rd one's in place. I've brought this piece of return nosing, which I've ripped off an extra tread. I've cut a 45 on it to mate with a 45 from my tread. I still have to cut it to length, though. It's a little long. I'm going to mark it in place. To do this, I'll make a mark at the front face of my riser, and then I'll cut a 45 like this. Then I'll add a little piece in here which will butt into the finished skirt. Now that I've got it cut to length, I'm going to use a little glue to help hold it on. I'm using construction adhesive instead of yellow glue because this is a piece of cross-grain construction, and as this tread moves, it would break the glue bond if we were using yellow glue.